Hello there. Welcome to the new moon in Pisces and Mars going direct in Cancer as of today, which is February 25th. So we've got a lot on the horizon astrologically coming up from March. And just going to touch on that a little bit as we talk about the full moon here at the end of February. Before I get going, I want to just share my group with you in case you want to follow along. It's free. All my events are advertised through my Intuition Cafe. There's intuition circles that are running if you're in the Montreal area that are in person once a month, and I do live readings online through this page. So if you want to keep in touch, I think it's the best way. So I'm just going to share with you my Intuition Cafe page here, just so you can see what it looks like. There we go. So you'll go, you'll go to Facebook. This is what you'll see, the Intuition Cafe banner. And the goal, is to bring people to practice their intuition, even if you don't answer. Sometimes just somebody asking you the right question, gives you a yes or a no. You see an image. And if I asked you, like, what's your vibe of this place that we're looking at right here? Where would you sit if you walked in here? And that encourages your intuition because you're assessing on many levels. On some level, you're assessing the energy. You're aware of the lighting. You're aware of maybe privacy, comfort, where you'd feel physically safe, where you find it beautiful. And all of these layers are going on as we make choices. When we walk into a new place, we get a vibe. We either want to go in or we don't. We are attracted to sitting there for 5 minutes, or we would sit there for 5 hours, and you sort of get a sense more of, reading the energy, but also you get a sense of yourself and what your preferences are. So sometimes you'll see images like this on the site, and I'll just ask you, what's your vibe, or what do you think of this, or what's the story here? And other times I ask other questions to prompt you to develop your intuitive abilities. And then the intuition circles, as I said, they're running monthly. So the next one will be in March. And they're all advertised here, and you can sign up for them through this page as well. And they're in Point Claire Village at a gem store. And they're small groups. They're never going to be more than 8 people in the room at once. And we go around and I talk about tips. We do practice exercises, and then everybody gets to ask a question. And the whole group goes around in a circle, and you get the intuition answer of everybody in the group for your question. So you get to bond, you get readings, you get to practice, you strengthen your muscles, you trust yourself more. So this is my passion, my teaching intuition, and I hope you'll join my group. It's free on Facebook, and I'll have the link in the comments below. So let's talk first about, Mars going direct, because it happens today. So Mars has been traveling through Cancer for quite a while now, and retrograding, and now it's going forward. It's been an extremely long period with Mars in Cancer. Normally, Mars hangs around a couple of months, maybe 2-3 months. In this case, because of the long retrograde and return, and direct and return and retrograde and direct, we have Mars in Cancer. I believe it was lasting up to 5 to 6 months this time in the sign. So, you've probably no doubt noticed over the last few months that you feel more moody, you're more sensitive. You might want to cocoon yourself, like the crab wants to go back in its shell. And then sometimes you come out and you're quirky, and you're willing to connect with people. You're more attentive and sensitive to others, more nurturing. But again, Mars in Cancer is terrible for dealing with conflicts. It doesn't like it. The crab moves sideways. It doesn't take things on head on. It's not direct. It doesn't say what it wants directly. It hints. Instead of saying, well, I'd really like it if you would take out the garbage, it'll just go and expect you to say, oh, what's wrong? Oh, well, you said you'd take out the garbage. And now it's created this emotional drama over something, right? Instead of saying, it's your turn to take out the garbage. I appreciate it if you do it. Thanks. So that's how Mars in Cancer rolls. It's sensitive and moody. And because it's always tapping into, the emotions and the undercurrents and the moods of others, sometimes that makes them very attentive to your moods or to being very caring. Like it might pick up on undercurrents or things that are not said in a good way too. Like Mars in Cancer can tune in and meet your needs without you asking as well. But then that's where it gets into trouble on the other end, is because it expects you to read their mind too. So it hasn't been the greatest planet position for negotiations or conflicts. So it's sort of, to me, quite it's too bad, and it's interesting, and it's a little bit of just disappointing that we have Mars in Cancer at a time when there's tariff threats and border threats, because this is not a good sign for dealing with conflicts or responding. However, we definitely have seen Canada step up, and we have definitely seen Mexico stand up, and we've seen the Danes and the Greenland stand up. And now we're seeing Europe also standing up against a lot of things. So let's hope internally in the country that we see some stepping up to make sure things don't go completely haywire in the US. Enough said about that. So anyway, Mars in Cancer goes direct today. And today is the day that President Trump announced officially the tariffs being enacted. So you wonder sometimes whether they have astrologers, because why today? Why did he wait a month? Well, Mars was retrograde, wasn't it? So now, the second thing I want to talk about before we head into the chart is Neptune. I put up another video here on YouTube if you want to go watch it, that's more extensive about Neptune and Aries. It's a big deal when outer planets shift sign, because they're going to hang around in that sign for a very long time, just like Pluto and Aquarius that I was talking about before in November. They color a whole generation. They sort of decide what the norms are, what our modus operandi is going to be, what our ideals and values, what our goals, what's considered cool or trendy or sexy or the right way or the wrong way, gets dictated by sometimes these outer planets and what is the predominant energy or taste, So we're in this muddy waters right now between the end of Pisces and the beginning of Aries, which is a difficult transition when you get to the last degree of Pisces. It's almost like think of somebody that's just like, the alarm's gone off and it's buzzing for an hour and they still don't want to get out of bed. And life is going to make you snap out of it and get out of bed and get up and run and hit the ground running with Aries. Pisces is, wants to escape. We all feel that, right? There's so much going on. We're all overwhelmed. We're all flooded with too many things to process and too much info and too many shocks. And it makes you want to retreat and escape. And there's lots of people doing that. There's lots of people just putting their head in the sand and saying, oh no, I'm fine, so therefore it'll be fine. There's plenty of people going down the rabbit holes of any thought and belief and conspiracy and paranoia. There's all kinds of shades of gray of that. There's other people, focusing on their spirituality in good ways and in bypassing kind of ways to cope. And then there's just plenty of people out there drinking, smoking and using their phones, whatever, escaping into their video games or their whatever it is we do. And we can't blame anybody for it, but we've got, you know, Neptune in Pisces that wants to just escape, and we've got Mars in Cancer that wants to just cocoon. And we're coming into a time where Neptune and Saturn are going to move into Aries, and we have to find our warrior mode. We have to find ourself, a sense of our strong self. We have to want a clean slate. We have to want a fresh start. We have to be willing. We have to wrap our heads around the fact we're going to have to wake up and get a bit bold and get a bit active again if we want anything to happen or change. Otherwise, you're sort of lying there like, just, okay, come stab me. I'm here. I'm just lying down. We can't do that, right? So we have to snap out of these funks. And to me, what's clearer and clearer, and I made a reel about this today, but to me, what's clearer and clearer is that, you know, the strategies that are used on us, that have been used on us for years now, and they're just escalating right now with Trump, and it's Russian style propaganda kind of stuff, where it's like bombard people with more news and shocking allegations and poking everybody, riling everybody, offending everybody, because it gets the news cycle spinning. It gets your head spinning. You could literally, your brain cannot handle or process everything coming at you. That level of uncertainty puts everybody in fight, flight, freeze, collapse. So you have to be careful right now to take care of yourself and your nervous system. You need to take breaks and do things that are not related to the news or worrying or overthinking or talking about or whatever, scrolling, whatever we're doing. And I'm guilty too. We need to find this balance of, you know, having a life and taking care of yourself and staying calm and finding your sense of yourself again, instead of being out there always focused on, oh no, what's the next threat, and being hyper vigilant and exhausted. Neptune is going to focus on, in Aries, is going to switch us from focusing on sort of the ethereal, the mystical, the Florence Nightingale kind of archetype, the giver, the healer, the sacrificial person who will just do anything for anybody, the, you know, come in, it doesn't matter who you are, how you are, doesn't matter how you treat me, poor you, come in, you know, I'll give you a hug. That level of, you know, compassion or slash sainthood or is sometimes amazing, but it's also sometimes the shadow side is that there's abuse of that, and that it doesn't actually help sometimes to do too much, you know, saving somebody. If you're saving them from a burning building, well, yeah, but if you're quote unquote saving somebody who's an adult who needs to be taking up responsibility for themselves and learning how to do things on their own and taking their independence back, you're not actually helping, you're enabling. So that's the dark side of Pisces and Neptune, and we're at this last degree, 29 degrees all month long of Neptune and Pisces. There's going to be a lot of discussions and letting go and realizing like, oh my God, I have to take care of myself. I'm sorry, so-and-so, I'm sorry, I can't, you know, I can't give as much here as I did. This one, you know, there's a limit to how much I can do for you, whether that's with your kids, whether that's with people that, you know, obviously lots of people do need help and they're not just trying to take advantage, but we're just saying there's areas where there are people definitely taking advantage, but there's also areas where people are just not confronting reality, and we have to stop enabling that. It doesn't help anyone. And this is to me, this is going to be a huge cultural mind shift. You know, Aries is like, get up and go, let's do it. Let's just dash in, you know, before they even think about it, before there's a plan. It's like, what's the big deal? Let's just go. You know, oh, that needs to be done. Let's do it. You know, and they initiate. And so the good side of Neptune and Aries that's coming, and all of the Aries energy, is that we're going to thankfully feel maybe like sort of woken up again. And we might be ready to tackle something that we didn't before, to take some risks where we were frozen. You know, we might, certainly we're going to see uprisings. Certainly. Back in the last time Neptune was in Pisces was 1861, the US Civil War. Also the late 1800s saw, you know, lots of other uprisings. And I was looking at the history of it, and, you know, centuries and centuries of coinciding important uprisings and civil wars and such during Neptune and Pisces. So we're going to be finding our fire, and we're going to be finding our fight. Right now, like I said, somebody's trying to get you out of bed. Neptune and Pisces, Saturn Pisces, and you're like, huh? Just let me sleep. Oh, I don't want to yet. Aries is going to come along and say, like, out of bed now, get up. And you might be like grumpy at first, right? With that energy. But you'll be glad you did. You'll be glad you got up early. You'll be glad you started exercising again. You'll be glad you found your fire to act again. It's just right now we're in this slog, you know, and here we're in the middle of winter, so it doesn't help it. And that's all I got to say. And if you want to hear more as I expand more on this theme, you can watch my other video of Neptune and Pisces. And I'm going to do another one on Saturn. Similar themes, just a different way it plays out, because Saturn goes into Aries a little bit later. But March, Neptune starts. End of March, it's all starts. Let's take a look at the chart now. So, as we can see, big cluster all over here in one area. Stellium. A cluster of 5, I believe stellium's officially 5 planets. 5 or more, maybe it's 4 planets in the same sign, all on top of each other, is called a stellium. And as you see, it creates this severe focal point all in one area of life, which is rather interesting given what's going on in the US. So we have the chart drawn for the Eastern time zone, and we have Libra rising. We have Pisces sun, Pisces moon. We have Pisces Saturn, we have Pisces Mercury, we have Pisces North Node, and we have Pisces Neptune. Holy moly, huh? So we better understand Pisces. As I said, Pisces is this very spiritual, mystical, and creative. They're able to see the oneness of everything, the interconnectedness of everything, so much so that one thing might blur into the next. So they have difficulty with separations and boundaries because they don't really see them. They see where we're all the same. They see where there's parallels. They see how everything can flow together. And that's a beautiful thing. If you are a healer, if you are an artist or creative, all of these planets in Pisces can just be amazing. If you want to be drawing, singing, creating, painting, writing, if you want to be playing with your kids, if you want to be imagining other worlds and watching sci-fi and romances and stuff, anything of that, you know, sensitive, soft nature, it's an excellent time to be doing all of that right now. So for creatives, awesome energy right now. You know, we've got Mars also supporting some of the Pisces planets. we've got, well, yeah, all of the Pisces planets. Well, actually, it looks like about 3. But anyway, Mars in Cancer is supporting all that Pisces, all this wateriness, you know, all this emotion, all of this tuning in, meditating, taking your sweet time, resting, introspecting, meditating, listening to music, creating. It's all wonderful for that. So it's weird that all of these tariff things are coming down at a time like this with this new moon, when everything is in soft, soft planets. So for me, what does that mean? If you announce heavy tariffs, heavy rules under such a watery, mushy energy, for me, it feels like it doesn't stick. It's just not going to stick. It's too fluid. It's sort of like, I'm going to do that to you. And it feels like it'd be very easy for something to go, oh no, you won't, and be like, oh, because all of that, all this wateriness, all of this escaping fantasy idea, you know, is this theory. In theory, maybe he has an idea that he thinks is going to work, but I don't think it's going to work. I think it's going to backfire big time. And I think when the people backfire, when the people are angry enough, yeah, I just don't think it's going to continue to work or stick. That's my personal feeling. Other option when you have water planets underneath all of this negotiating is that it might stick, but it might keep changing constantly. Like, oh, well, it'll be 11%. Oh, now it's 12. Oh, now it's 15. Oh, but only on this, but 7 on that. And, you know, it could roll like that too, because it's wish-wash. You know, as much as I love all the water stuff, because I'm a Cancer too, I love all the watery planets and all the good sides of it. But when we're talking about like playing hardball in countries and boundaries and defense and healthcare spending and things that are serious, you don't really want wishy-washy, watery, not sure. You know, Pisces is mutable, so it's just like constantly, well, oh, you go that way? Oh, okay, I'll mirror you then. Oh, really? That's what you want? Oh, okay, well, and it's not firm. And so I doubt that a lot of these decisions coming down at this new moon are going to stay firm. We'll see what happens later when things more consolidate in Aries. So I would expect more negotiations, more back and forth, more wishy-washy. It's interesting that this entire stellium here happens in the 6th house. So when we're talking about Eastern time zone, that includes, you know, Montreal, Toronto, New York, Washington, D.C., all the way down to Florida. The 6th house talks about health and the service sector. So if you know, if you're looking in a chart and you want to see, well, who's in charge of like public works, you know, how 6th house, where's my nurses and doctors? 6th house. Where's my veterinarians and naturopaths? 6th house. It also talks about extended family, so sometimes elderly. So when you see such a stellium of Pisces planets in the 6th house, I'm expecting that we'll see a lot of changes in those sectors. And those people being affected the most. So for that, again, Mars is still trine. It's helping out the sun and moon. It's helping out Saturn, Mercury, North Node, Neptune. It's helping it all out. So it sort of says, because the good side of the water planets, the compassion, the feeling for others, the empathy for others is still extremely strong. So in the, you know, if If these guys had an astrologer, they would not have picked this time if they wanted to win. There's going to be too much, way too much outpouring and public outcry and backlash for them to be able to go through. This is not like a cold steel knife feeling. This is a, oh, come on, give them a hug. No, no, no. Oh, this is gut wrenching. Oh my God, how could they do that? So even though we're in a lot of shock, there's a lot of compassion and there's a lot of fear, but there's a lot of compassion and worry and care and concern for everybody, given what's going on. So where is there a challenge? Well, we've got Jupiter in Gemini challenging the sun moon. And it's also challenging, yeah, pretty much Saturn. Yeah. And, you know, Jupiter in Gemini, like we said, it's a planet of socializing and networking. And here it's in the 9th house. It could be about definitely multiculturalism. You know, the spreading of ideas, ideologies, higher learning. It sort of feels like, you know, Jupiter and Gemini can be like somebody who just loves to brainstorm and like, ooh, let's try that. Ooh, let's try that. Ooh, I wonder if we do that, what'll happen? Let's try this. Oh, maybe this guy will do it. Oh, maybe this person will do it. It's not really sinking in and getting very grounded. It's sort of like, let's cast the net wide and spread this idea and this thought and this. So that could sort of explain, you know, Jupiter and Gemini, this bombardment of all kinds of crazy brainstorming ideas and a million projects, right? Like Gemini already usually has like 5 things on the go, let alone do they finish them. You know, they're always starting things off, introducing people, you know, maybe half doing the deal and not finishing it. Like they're great at that. They're great at just spreading it, opening, brainstorming. And, you know, Trump is a Gemini. This is what he's good at doing as well. But it doesn't have any gravitas to it. And so because it is squaring off all the Pisces, to me, it looks like, and I'm sorry to make the whole chart about Trump, but you know, most of us, that's what we're thinking about and talking about. So, we might be going through it on a personal level too. You know, are you overly thinking things? Are you overly shooting out ideas? Are you brainstorming? Or are you like, have you got too many things on your plate, too many projects on your mind, too many people in your life? Have you got more than you can manage? You know? And coming back to the Pisces and the Cancer vibe, it's really more like about stay home a bit, calm yourself down, take care of yourself, take care of your health, take care of your environment, take care of, you know, keep yourself a little more grounded than that and see like what's actually viable versus like letting your head run wild. That's in the chart. It's also going on right now, but it's also in the chart. So you can ask yourself that on a personal level if that's what you're doing. Now, we also have a couple of planets that are in Aries already, which is Venus and Chiron. And they are in the relationship house, the partners and hidden enemies, open enemies. And so you might see some strong partnerships forming with Venus and Aries right now. You know, you might, again, this boldness and this desire to do something cool, something different, something new, something active can come up in your relationship area. Maybe you've met new people. Maybe you're getting more aligned with projects and actions and things you want to do together with somebody, whether it's socially, romantically, whether it's a business thing. But there's like a nice feeling of, you know, uplifting, active, let's go for it kind of partnerships. So that's a very nice aspect right now. And that is squaring off with Mars and Cancer. Again, what did we say? Mars and Cancer is like I don't like conflict. I don't want to get out of bed just yet. Oh, you should. Oh, but I told you that. You should have known I said that before. Pout. And Venus and Aries is just like, that'd be really cool. We should really do that. It's like, oh, perfect. Wonderful. Do you want to talk next week? Yeah, sure. I get a good feeling about this. Me too. Let's do it. You see how different they are, right? Mars and Cancer is going to just like slow it down and make it emotional. And Venus and Aries is just like, yeah, let's do it. Let's go for it. Let's try. Let's just try. So you have those squaring off a bit. So what does that tell you? Well, maybe if you've got that beautiful energy right now of like, maybe you've just met somebody new or you've reconnected and you're dating and it's going great, or you had a surprise and somebody asked you out that you'd never imagined, or you're suddenly met somebody and they want to do a joint project with you and you're excited about it. Well, maybe just don't tell people because there's such a wet blanket out there right now. There's, we're, like I said, we're in this murk. We're in the, like, some people are asleep and burying their heads other in the mud. Other people are like, they're coming out of the mud, but they're still feeling like stuck in it. They don't have the energy to get out of it yet. They've got to like wash it off. And other people are like feeling the Aries. They're feeling like, no, there's opening here. There is an opening. There will be action. There will be something. And because everybody's just such at a different stage right now, you have to have patience with everyone. But I'm just going to say, if you are tapping into the Aries already, protect it. Like, hallelujah, if you're tapping into that side right now and you're not feeling overwhelmed and stuck. If you're feeling like ready to do something and initiate something, but probably it's not a great time to be telling people about it. Because as we know, you tell people and then seeds of doubt are planted, or overthinking, or people meddling, or whatever people do, you know. So keep your good ideas to yourself. Excuse me, for now. Chiron is also in Aries, and of course that's about your wounds, your inner wounds, the wounds to yourself. We've been going through this one for a long time now. It's at 20 degrees, and it's still got another 10. So culturally, collectively, we've all been going through this for a while now, like a year or two, where it's sort of like, who am I? What is myself? Like, do you know? Do we all know? Hopefully we do. Hopefully we do have some clarity on some aspect like that. I do know who I am. Maybe you're not perfect. You don't remember, maybe you're reinventing yourself. Maybe you've been, again, depends if you feel like you're in the mud or you're awakening out of the mud. But the way we awaken is to connect with knowing who you are and honoring yourself and your needs. Not like, I need this, I need that, I want that. No, I'm just saying you have to know like who you are and what you need. Let's say I am basically an introvert. I need time to myself. That is a need. That's not being selfish. That's the kind of level of self-awareness, and knowing what you need. Maybe you're on the opposite. Maybe you are an extrovert and you need people and you need to be going out and doing social things and being in groups. And that is your need, and that is fine. That's what you know of yourself. And the needs and the things that we come to grips with about who we truly are and what we need at our essence in order to feel good, aligned, and ready to act. Okay, that's what we're adding with the Aries. It's not just like this, I know who I am when I'm in meditation. It's like, no, I know who I am enough to act on it. Totally different story, isn't it? That's where we're at with the Aries planets. Now, Neptune is at 28. It's going to hover around 29 all March, which is a significant degree. It's the last degree of the sign. It's always potent because it's sort of like that last breath before you go. The last degree, you're holding all the lessons, all the potency of that chapter and you're like, and you're still holding it and it can intensify and then it changes sign and it's like pop or, and it has to change. So I would anticipate we're going to feel a lot of intensity and build up and change in March. And I know there's other predictions that say, oh, end of March, everything changes. I agree. I don't know what it's exactly going to look like, but I've been feeling that since last year, that end of March, early April this year, 2025, is going to be big. I can attribute Neptune. That's one of it, one thing, but it's also an, you know, a message I kept getting over and over of this time frame. And so we have a lot to think about. The main message of this chart is all about identifying. Are you feeling stuck? Are you feeling lost? Are you feeling like you don't know who you are? Are you feeling like, I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to wake up. I don't want to face this. Or are you starting to come out of the fog and out of the muck? And are you in a place where you feel ready to act? What do you need in order to feel better so that you get to a place where you can act on what you need to do? That's it in a nutshell. Let's take a look for the tarot for this new moon. I'm feeling this Aries energy and I'm liking it, honestly. It wasn't easy to start shedding the Pisces layers, the resistance, you know, to going forward, to taking accountability, to saying, no, I've got, you know, those moments when you just suddenly feel like you're ready to have more self-discipline again and hold yourself to it. It feels really good. And there's a lot of things that we have to evaluate and let go of along the way to being able to fly and act again. You know, whatever's weighing you down. Let's take a look now at the tarot for this. All right. So our first card of this new moon is the King of Swords. So the King of Swords could represent many things, many people, but you know, it's somebody who's very cerebral, completely cerebral, very little emotion or empathy or emotional intelligence. It's intellectual or cerebral kind of brilliant person. And they're dashing in there very quickly, flying in there with their two swords and with their, well, it's birds, but like guardians, and propeller on the head as well. And this person is like clearly on a mission, but there's nothing wrong with having a mission, but it's the absence of empathy that makes you question the King of Swords. Where are the motives for this mission? Do they care about anything except their own interests? You know, they will have the intelligence if they wanted to apply it to whatever they want to do in a good way that could be inclusive or very transformational for people. But they could also be a complete psychopath who's just in it for themselves. And they'll be very smart and very charming. So you can think about who that matches in the global stage. Many. Or you can think about, is there anyone in your personal life that seems to be like that, where you're questioning their empathy? Next card is Four of Discs, the Power card. It's a Sun in Capricorn. This is definitely like a card of emotional, financial stability, usually financial security. It's a castle it's an overview of a castle. So you see the towers in a square and you see the moat around it and you see the very narrow access into the courtyard. across the moat. You know, this is sort of like the ultimate Capricorn energy in a way. It's like, here's my castle and there's my gateway and here's my giant moat and with alligators, and only a few of you were allowed into my, you know, my glorious compound. So there's, yeah, well, I mean, a lot of us are probably thinking about themes like this right now. Exclusivity and power and money, and whether you feel you're on the inside or the outside of that, whether you personally feel you have enough of your own resources for your own castle, whether you feel you can protect your own home and castle as well, metaphorically. But then we've also got, you know, much more awareness of the rise of oligarchy, which, and, you know, these cards make perfect sense politically. And we have the 10 of Wands, unfortunately, the oppression card. So yeah, I mean, you can't make this stuff up. I didn't pick these cards on purpose, but they sure fit what's going on. You know, the oppression card, people will feel definitely like their freedoms are being taken away. And we have to confront that. A lot of freedoms are being taken away. So I'll pull a couple more cards because that's too depressing. So the next one we have is the Eon or the Judgment card. And this one would be much more towards taking definitive steps. Like declarations and definitive steps. This might be, if it's personal for you, I don't know, maybe you're considering coming out and saying what you want to do with your life, or being more open about something about who you are to people. That could be a coming out, you know, a definitive step. Maybe you're less shy to share where you actually stand on a matter than before. But there's always like this coming out of the closet and facing the music and saying, here I am, because it's usually the Judgment card. But in here, they call it the Eon. But usually the Judgment card is like, you're ready to stand before God and be judged. That's the Rider-Waite sort of version, the Christian version of being externally judged. Whereas the Thoth deck, it's coming from inside. It's not like, oh, well, you get to judge me. I'll say what I want, what I am, and you get to judge me. It's more important, the act of you saying, defining who you are, than the other's judgment. And finally, the last card I'll pull here is the Two of Cups. So this is suggesting that there could be some interesting partnerships coming up for you. Now, if it's a global stage, I would say that this is encouraging for perhaps other leaders, other countries to take a stand and form a very positive, strong alliances with the Two of Cups. It'll be a very made to match alliance. If it's personal, well, then again, it's nice because it looks like you're taking a step to say, I'm tired of feeling like I'm not free. I'm tired of feeling repressed all the time. I'm tired of this heaviness, tired of the feeling this weight, this darkness in my life. I'm going to step out and be more honest about who I am and what I want and what I'll put up with and what I don't want. And then the Two of Cups arrives. There could be a beautiful friendship, partnership, love relationship that comes out of you doing that, which is pretty cool. So let's take a look at the tarot for your sign. All right. Tarot for your sign. Well, we could, I suppose, do something on Neptune, since it's going to be such a theme. Yeah, all right. How do you awaken yourself to action? What's your best course of awakening yourself into action? How are you going to get your warrior mode on? Yeah. Aries, well, you're already the warrior and things are going into your sign. So you're about to be activated more than before, more than ever. So how do you get your warrior mode on? I mean, a lot of Aries are already. So it's like, will it empower you and embolden you to be even more? Will it just cheer you on with it? Or could it even go overboard maybe? So let's see. How do you get your warrior on? Ooh, you got the Nine of Swords. This is the cruelty card. Hmm. Well, the first feeling I get of this, oh my goodness. Okay. Aries, you're gonna have to be careful not to be trying to get revenge on anybody. Um, Payback or trying to exact some sort of debt from people if you feel like you've been, you know, ticked off or wronged. That's not the warrior path, is to go, on a tear where you're like people are supposed to pay, for how they've been towards you or the things you haven't gotten to do or yeah, you'll have to overcome any of that if that's going on. Obviously, that's part of Aries. But it's sort of a dark side. I don't see it as much with Aries as I do with other signs. But there it is. So in order for you to get to a place, excuse me, where you can come out of whatever mindset and into more of a true warrior mode, you'll have to then move away from any kind of, like I said, retribution or trying to make people pay or wishing they get their karma or whatever, or their day in court or whatever you want. Um, and you will have to come to some level of like, it doesn't have to be completely forgiving them, although that'd be great. But you have to get to a place where you're willing to take the higher road. Yeah. To focus on taking the higher road and what is like a noble way to handle whatever your issue is with said person. Be the bigger person. Be the more mature person. Yeah. It's tough though. Looks like you're struggling with that. Taurus, how do you step up into your warrior mode? We've got an Aries card as well. Venus and Aries, Four of Wands. See, well, that's where the planets are right now. Venus is in Aries. So it'll make it easier for you. Um, for you to be in your warrior mode, it looks like you need a circle. You need to feel like you have a circle of friends, a circle of supporters, sisters, brothers, whatever you want to call them. A council. Could be a support group meeting, could be consolidating friends or family that you feel very clearly that you're all aligned and that you will have each other's back and that you will step up for each other. It feels to me like you need to feel like you're really in that warrior mode. You need to feel like you're part of a collective thing. It's not you alone against the wilderness. It's like you in conjunction with other people will have each other's back, and then it brings out the strong side of you, where it brings out that take action, but also like that protective side that you have of yourself and others, if you feel other people also have your back. So you need to basically know who your allies are in this next chapter of life. Gemini, how do you get your warrior on? You got the 10 of Cups, so you're burnt out, you're overwhelmed. That's a Pisces card. Yeah, your mind has probably just been too flooded and too full with too many things. Jupiter's in your sign, so come on. It gives you a boost, but it also, you know, it accentuates your natural proclivity for taking on many things at once. So in order to get your warrior mode on, what you need basically is to rest and to let go of some of the people or some of the projects or some of the things you've said yes to or committed to, or, you know, even saying no mentally to yourself of what you let your head roll around or on, you know. It's mental overwhelm is this card. Sort of feels like you're fried. And so to get your warrior side in check, you need to calm your mind, and you need to sleep and rest and let yourself have some quiet. And you definitely need to be letting go of some things or some people in order to do that. Other than that, I feel like you will be fine for some reason. If you give yourself that rest, you'll be totally fine to know how to adapt, because you're one of the most adaptable signs ever. So you will also, with the right rest and the right environment, you will be able to figure out what to do to adapt right now. All right, Cancers, what do you need to get your warrior mode on? Well, we have the devil. That's giving me a funny feeling now. Well, the devil could be somebody around you, but it could also just be you against yourself. Because it represents, you know, temptations and addictions and desire for control. So there's sometimes people around you that are looking to manipulate or control. So you want to get your warrior on. You're still cleaning up who's in your life and your surroundings. But when it comes to what you work on in yourself, you also have to overcome your own demons, your own devils, which could be, like I said, your own addictions. The ways that you feel tempted over and over to go back into the same old patterns or thoughts. So I think it's both, honestly. I think it's like a mirror. So the way you could work on that the most would be to work on your own thought process and do your best to, you know, stop the wheel of circular thinking that goes around and around, whether it's the same rehashing scenarios or replaying the same old fears in your mind, or whatever, you know, whatever your mind routinely wants to go back to over and over like a track. You almost need to tell yourself mentally to stop thinking about it altogether. Take a mental break from it and clean this energy out of your life. It's like a bad record that keeps playing in your head, and then it keeps calling and attracting the same thing. So I'd say it's really your inner warrior comes a lot from your own mental, overcoming a lot of mental obstacles. Oh, chunky message. Leos, wow, how do you get your inner warrior on here? You got the Four of Cups, luxury. It's funny. Yes and no. Leo, you will be motivated to take action because a lot of planets in fire are going to finally make you feel lit up again. Venus is there already, and then Neptune is going to join it, and then Saturn's going to join it. And Mars is going to move from Cancer into Leo. And you're going to start to feel better. You're going to start to feel like things are finally in flow for you. However, what I'd say is to get that inner warrior on, you almost need to be focused on this luxury idea. Like, set your bar as to what you really want to achieve and set the bar a little higher. And that motivates you to work harder. The vision of the life you want, the vision of something that would really be, you know, comfortable, successful. What's that look like for you? You're going to start to feel more energy. So you're going to be ready to act and fulfill a lot of that more. So keep in mind your ideal and your dream of what you want to build, what you want your life to look like, because it's going to motivate you to take actions. So you're coming into a good time. All right. Virgo, what do you need to get your warrior mode on? Oh, yeah. 7 of discs. It's so crystal clear, this message, Virgo. Saturn and Taurus, you need to know your worth. You need to work on your sense of self-worth. You need to allow yourself to succeed. You need to release all these fears and thoughts of failure. You need to release the ways you judge yourself or feel like you haven't measured up to something you should have. And it's all about affirming that you are worth it. So the warrior mode comes in when you say, you know what, let's say, I don't know, I've been working this job and I've been doing the job of 2 people plus my supervisor for 5 years and I haven't had a raise. Warrior mode comes in when you say, you know what, I know what I'm worth. And so I will either get the raise, work somewhere else, looks to work somewhere else, or set boundaries with my supervisor and say, sorry, not my job description, is it? That's the warrior mode of self-worth. And that's what you're working on. It's just so crystal clear. It's so short and sweet. Libra, now you're coming into a bit of a challenging time with all of this Neptune in Aries. Neptune and Saturn going to be in your relationship house and opposing you for years. So, and you're probably going, oh, not again. I just survived Pluto and Capricorn. Yeah, you did. You did. And so that's tougher. Okay. But still, there's going to be challenges and intrigues and stuff in your relationship life with Neptune. You might meet some incredibly interesting, inspiring figures during this time. You might have very spiritual connections and mystical experiences when you meet people, or your conversations, or the level of depth that you get in your relationships and conversations. But you also have to be careful of idealizing in flights of fancy, and that's where you got to be careful as a Libra, putting people on pedestals that don't deserve it. Okay, Libra, what do you need to do to get your warrior on? The 10 of Swords. Well, you're overcoming depression, basically. If you've been feeling deep down sort of depressed. Yeah. This is a card of like mental exhaustion. The card has the moon in Gemini, which is constantly needing new stimulation, new people, always like duality, yes or no, hot and cold. And then you've got the sun in Libra on this card, which wants to balance everything and wants things to be fair. And it gets mentally exhausting because as Jupiter and Gemini brings more and more and more things to your plate to weigh. and it's endless. And you're mentally exhausted of weighing everything and making decisions all the time. So you're mentally burnt out. So how do you get your warrior on with that? Yeah. Well, this will be tough. It's like the Cancer message. It's very internal and mental for you. It will need to be an examination of how do you keep sabotaging yourself in some way? Are you participating in repetitive cycles where you are saying yes to things or allowing things that constantly exhaust your mind? So it's funny, the Cancer and the Libra message are both about getting your mind back. But Cancer's is more, it's the devil, it's fears and temptations and people around that are tempting. Libra, yours is more like people keep knocking at the door and you keep letting them in. You keep finishing the work and somebody adds one more document and you say, oh, and you know you're doing it, but you won't say no. So you're fried because you've gone way beyond your limits. This is a card where the 10 of Swords is like the max you can get to with the swords, right? It's the 10. It's the absolute max of trying to figure things out on a mental level. That's why it's not working. So the way, and it's even on this card, all of the swords are blocking the heart. There's 3 swords poking at the heart. So the only way out of the mental struggle for you is to drop into your heart, and your heart has to be what answers you, not your head. All right, Scorpio. Whew. Scorpio, how do you get your warrior on? We've got the Hierophant. Well, you might not feel like you have to. You might be content to be sort of a bit more detached. You might not feel the need to take a lot of action. You might just want to be reflecting and observing. And then you will be a reflector and observer for others. You'll be a sounding board, a counselor. If you want that role, it's perfectly primed for that. Everyone needs you, you know? But is that really satisfying for you? Hmm. Hmm. It could be that the action, quote unquote, that this warrior takes is how do I describe this? Like every if you think of monks that are like warriors, they've got the side of them that is quiet, doing martial arts, meditation, disciplined work, but they're also training to fight at any moment, and they're strong fighters. So this is an interesting card because it's almost like instead of being ready to step up and act to this Aries energy, like I'm seeing with other signs, yours is more a message of like, let's pull back and consolidate. It's not quite time. Building your inner strength and your inner resources to be probably an even stronger warrior down the road than right now. It's almost like you're watching everyone else rush the battlefield, and you're staying up on the hill because you are there for some sort of secondary or tertiary need. And so you are consolidating yourself first. Wow. What a message. Sagittarius, how do you get your warrior on? Oh, 3 of Wands, virtue. Well, you do it by being good with yourself, forgiving yourself, cleaning up your own act. You know what you need to do. You know if you've been off base or off kilter. You know, like I feel so strongly like you already know what you need to do. You just aren't making yourself do it. You can act at any time. You can keep continuing to do what you're doing because it feels like it's working. But if you know that you want to step into something bigger, a different arena, or you're ready to really grow, I think you already know what you're doing that's blocking you. And it's a question of you, like the virtue card is really like getting very true to to yourself and your higher power and your ethics. And you clean up the ethics, you clean up, like some people know that, let's say they're working for a company that isn't 100% ethical. There's something they disagree with in the ethics. How do you clean that up? Well, you could keep working there if it's working for you. But if you're ready to grow, then you already know like you're not aligned with where you work. So you have to shift it. That kind of thing. Or you might feel same thing with your crowd, or you could stick with it. It's working for you, comfortable. But if you want to grow, there's people in your entourage you need to let go of, or groups you need to let go of, or things, committees you're on, you got to say sorry, or tasks that you've added that you're like, no, this isn't aligned. So it feels like, you can be ready at any moment to act, and to grow. It's really you deciding, are you ready to clean up your act? All right, Capricorn, how do you get your warrior on here? Princess of Swords. Might not be a good time for you to do it at all. You might be feeling too distressed and combative, or you might have somebody around you who's just sort of not stable and volatile. So yeah, if you're the one who's feeling sort of shaky and like you're on shaky ground and you're feeling very angry, or sort of desperate to do things quickly or get out, like if there's a desperation energy at all, you got to be careful. That's not warrior energy. That could be very destructive, even though it's fighting this card. And if it's someone around you like that, then you would definitely need to be distancing and removing yourself from that type of volatile energy, if that's someone around in your midst. Because let's say you were the perfect leader right now. Let's say you're showing perfect leadership skills, okay? If you've got a Princess of Swords around you, they could take your banner or take your ideas and run with it in a destructive way and undo the good you're doing by being way too combative, provocative. Yeah. So you have to assess your own level of urgency, anger, lashing out, whether you're really truly ready to act on something right now, or you might just need to vent and move things through you before you're ready to step into your warrior mode. So yeah, it's sort of like the Aries thing where there's some negative emotion to overcome that's cropping up before you're ready to really act in that leadership manner, that warrior manner. And if it's a person around you, I'm sure you probably already know who we're talking about. All right, Aquarius, how do you get your warrior mode on? You got the sun, that's nice. I don't even think you think like that. Warrior mode, you're like, what? Huh? What do you mean? I don't think you even think like that. The biggest message I get out of this is just keep your friendly, sunny disposition intact. That's enough. Yeah, you don't need to go into any kind of warrior mission fighting kind of mode, or um even the taking action part feels like, no, I think you're more just whatever you do to maintain your naturally accepting, open, sunny disposition. Now, we know not all Aquarians are like that. A lot of you can withdraw and be stubborn and hard-headed and stuff, yeah. But for the most part, you're fairly open and friendly and accepting, and I think that's like another type of taking action. That's another type of leadership, just leading by example. Do what you need to do to keep yourself happy, and that will spread. That's the nicest message of all, I think. And Pisces, how do you get your warrior mode on? It's probably one of the hardest things for Pisces, because we've been in so much Piscean energy. For you, you're totally too comfortable in it probably right now. You got the Prince of Swords. Well, he's very complicated. He's usually not very trustworthy. He's scattered. He's a good talker, but he's very, he's sort of a tortured soul. So Pisces, if you have anyone around you who fits that description of a tortured soul, you will very likely need to change course, how you're dealing with this person, whether you eliminate, walk away, or put boundaries, or, limit your contact. This feels like a person who's draining you, whether you've realized it or not. And you'll find more of your own strength and clarity to go forward with your own life as you let go of anybody in your life who is just sort of self-destructive and complicated and a tortured soul. Yeah. I mean, with Pisces, you probably have many people around you who are tortured souls. They'll be drawn to you all the time to look after them. And if it's you who's feeling like the tortured soul and you're torn in all these different directions, so like this card always feels like it's sort of severe enough that it needs intervention or help, because it's multiple people, it's multiple things that this person, this is all torn up inside, with multiple, there's too many things going on. It's not singular. It's going to take some work to get themselves out of, so they very likely need some help. So if that's you, and you can admit that, then find a coach, counselor, therapist, yoga classes, anything, martial arts, anything that helps you release energy and feel focused and make decisions. And if it's someone around you who's like this, well, it's the same message. They need help, and it's more than you can handle. Even if it's your child, you get them some extra help or coaching, or look for people that can be helpful for role modeling, or there's all kinds of ways. But the Prince of Swords is usually just so tangled in his own head that his life has just become messy. All right, and that concludes this new moon reading. If you would like at any point to have a reading with me, if you need some guidance, making strategic moves, figuring out where Neptune is hanging around your chart, then please just message me and we'll do that. Otherwise, I wish you a good moon cycle.